of Enright, here's Nick Francesco on member-supported Jazz 90.1.
And good afternoon for another great afternoon of questions and hopefully a lot of answers here at Soundbites on this July 8th. I'm Dave Enright.
I'm Steve Ray.
I'm Dennis Worster.
And I'm Chris Horn.
All right, we got it.
And I'm happy to report that microphone number 4 is active.
And we didn't have to do anything.
No, I just sit here and talk.
So
it's
apparently
fantastic.
it's been active this whole time. Just shoved back there in the corner where no one was at it.
Yeah,
Right.
Who knew? Who knew? We've never had this many guests.
Well, the last time all four of us were here, we forgot there was a fourth mic shoved back in the corner.
Right, so Mike,
That's true.
Chris and I had to talk into the mic and say, over, and
Yeah.
let the other person talk.
All right, one thing I want to say here is a lot of folks, as a matter of fact, we got one card in already that Nick is off right now. He's recovering, and we've got a few, well-wishers and everything else, and hopefully he'll be back with us very soon. But he is not gone, so all you folks think, what happened to Soundbites,
No.
Now, Nick is just taking some time off to heal, and but he's okay. He's doing great, and
He's probably listening,
hopefully,
And
if-
I'm going to get the other chat open so he can chime in if he wants to.
for sure.
yeah. But as always, we're here to take your computer questions. Please give us a call at 966-5299. Toll free, 1-800-790-0415 for your computer questions. And like I say, we got a full house. That we are not crammed, sharing mics and everything else.
This is pretty great, yeah.
And how long has it been there?
I don't know.
It's been over
I
a
just
year.
assumed it was for people who come into the studio with like an acoustic guitar or something, and they just want to
Yeah, or,
jam on the air.
Relax in those chairs.
Yeah.
Or we
no,
had
this is
two-
pretty great.
Yeah, why aren't we set up in the comfy chairs?
You're too far from the board.
Well, yes.
Well, we are one of, if not the only talk show.
yes.
And so it's
Until
usually
Chris starts singing.
yeah, it's usually just the DJs running the board, and so
Yeah.
Yeah, because on what Rob's hopes were is eventually to get everybody over in. We actually have a recording studio when we have live concerts here, folks. That folks are over. If I look straight ahead from where I'm at the board, if you folks have ever been here at the studio, there's a big glass window that I could look on into the recording studio.
For sure.
And eventually, someday, who knows?
All things are possible.
Things could happen, but hey.
Well, I had some success this morning already. I
All
went
right.
to go visit someone who has a business at home, and they've got a copier, and they wanted to print envelopes. And as we all know, printers are the one thing that either goes very, very well or very, very poorly. But I'm happy to say that this morning we were able to print some envelopes. It turns out on these copiers, if you make sure to put the envelopes in the right place and tell the copier that you put envelopes there,
It'll print them?
it might print them most of the time. Yeah, so it's a beautiful thing when you can get all the settings quite just lined up and all the stars align and the paper's in the right place and in the right orientation and flip to the right side, because you can't print on the back side of the envelope. That's no good. A regular sheet of paper, it really doesn't matter what side you print to, but envelopes, they care. So
Yeah.
it matters.
I can
So-
picture it, Dennis. After that first 5 envelopes, you're like, wait a second. This hasn't eaten any envelopes yet?
Right. Yes.
Nothing's on fire?
Envelopes are one thing, but the thing that always seems to cause the most trouble in office buildings is those labels that are sticky.
yeah.
Those sticker
They-
ones, they're
They
like on wax
prematurely-
paper.
Prematurely come off the backing.
Yes. Oh, and then they manage to wind themselves and stick themselves quite nicely around all the rollers on the inside. So you have to get out your screwdriver, unplug it from the wall, take everything apart, peel off all the rollers, the stickers from the rollers.
I've got a HP laser printer I've got to do that with, and they don't make it easy. You got to
No.
take all the covers off, not
Right.
just the fuser cover.
Yeah. Well, I was lucky, matter of fact, just a week ago, I've got a big HP 4000 TN.
Oh, yeah.
It's a big network printer. It's got the 3 trays we had it for the business.
Sure.
All of a sudden, it stopped working. I kept falling offline and everything else, and I thought, oh, shoot, I hate to get rid of it because it's still working good.
Yeah.
So I took the chance and I went online and looked for a new network card.
Okay.
was taking a gamble. I figured, it keeps dropping off. I got to turn it back on after a little bit. So I went ahead, got a new network card off of,
Auction
Google
sites.
search.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
Came in. It was really cheap. I was surprised. I thought, well, for less than $20, what the heck?
Yeah.
So popped out the old card, put the new one in. Voila.
Just fires right up.
It's amazing.
Back on the network and cranking away, and it's great because again that has the feature of doing envelopes and all that through
Sure.
the one feeder that I have,
Yes.
and then 3 other trays that do different types of paper. Because we had when we were in business, we had the different colored papers for your invoice:
Sure.
the white, the yellow, and the pink,
Of course.
and it would just select one, do, and do all 3.
Right. Next best thing to triplicate with a dot matrix. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that was noisy as all get out. We had one of those. Matter of fact, it was an old Epson dot matrix printer,
Right.
and you'd hear it go.
9-pin.
Yeah.
So the
Going back and forth, and
those
3
HPs, man, the especially the bigger ones, the 3000, the 4000 series, those are workhorses.
Oh,
You might bore it to death, but you can't really work
yeah,
it
no.
to death.
So I mean, it's still going for what I paid, and that was over. What we got that back in 19.
Yeah, 19.
Yeah, 19. I want to
They
say
don't make them like that anymore.
95. I think
Yeah.
95.
LaserJet 4?
Yeah.
For 4000 series.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What-
4,000
4,000.
TN.
Yeah.
TN, trade and
Yeah.
network.
Yeah.
Yeah. I read a story the other day about someone who called tech support because their printer was screaming at them.
Uh-oh.
It was the green and white fanfold paper. Every time they did their long reports, it would start screaming.
Okay.
And so tech guy said he went over there, printed a report, and sure enough, yeah, it was screaming at him. So he pulls out his screwdriver. Printers are scared of screwdrivers.
Yes.
And started to take it apart, but then he found an aspirin stuck in the pin feed.
Oh, really?
And the frequency it vibrated at as the paper went by sounded
Sounds-
like a scream.
Oh, amazing.
So he took the aspirin out and handed it to them. Here you go. I have found a golf tee in the paper feed once on a printer, and the guy's like, I don't even golf. Where'd that come from?
Previous owner? I don't know.
Yeah.
Could be anything.
When the thing says there's a paper jam, there's almost always a jam somewhere.
It's true.
Sometimes it's just too deep inside to get to.
Yeah, some are a lot easier to get to than others. Admittedly, the big copiers that are in most office buildings, they've got nice doors that flip open, and they'll even tell you on the screen, "Hey, flip open this door."
Yep.
It's in there. They've got enough sensors to know
Those,
where does
those
the
are
paper
made
get
to
to.
service, though.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But
I like where I've seen the pictures of the big cloud of black powder with 2 footprints
Yeah.
that where the carpet is.
Yeah.
I've seen that. Yes.
Cautionary tale.
In real life.
Yeah.
I can remember one time going to this law firm, and they just gotten this new copier and all that, and they're putting in the different toner, the toner in it.
Sure.
And this one young lady said, "Well, I can do that." So
Okay.
she went ahead, got the new cartridge out, took the old one out, put the new one in, and they told her how to shake it, and then pull the strip.
Right.
And I was kind of just sitting back watching her. She's sitting there shaking it, and
Right.
all of a sudden pulls out the strip. All this black powder just goes all over the place. I said, "Well, time for me to go."
Yes, it's our modern equivalent of coal soot. It's just
And
everywhere.
she's sitting there. "Oh, what am I doing?" She didn't stop. Just hold free. She's moving around like crazy,
Of
and
course.
more black powder, ink going all over the place.
Well, they always say you should shake the cartridge up a little bit because some settling may occur during shipping.
It's true.
But there's a very fine line between a little bit and too much.
Like I say, she's trying to figure out what to do, and she
Yeah.
couldn't. And
Yeah, you're trying to
Worst mess.
distribute the toner across the entire cartridge.
she spread it across the whole copier room.
Oh, that's a bad day.
Yeah. But other than that, not much going on in the news that I'm aware of. I mean,
We're in that summer where no one wants to. No one wants
Everybody's
to
on
work.
vacation.
Everyone's on vacation. Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of a slow period. As we've said before, folks, I mean, you can observe this yourself. You go into most superstores now, and you don't see I was just discussing this with another person because they wanted to get another big desktop computer.
Okay.
They go, where can I go? I go, online. Well, I don't know if I trust it. I says, that's about the only place you're going to find nowadays that are going to have big boxes, unless
And-
you go to a local store and they'll custom build you one, which I highly recommend it. If you're not a big repair person, then go to a shop that'll build it for you to your specs, and you've got some type of warranty.
Yeah. And you
You
have
know,
a local place to call and a local place to take
These
it.
other places that used to be pop up on the internet for the longest time, a lot of them have gone out of business. They used to build the cheap boxes and
Yep.
all that.
Yeah.
When the margins were so thin, I remember we had a mid-tower case with a power supply, and cost was $14.
Okay.
It had a 90-day warranty.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
So the whole plastic case, all of the metal inside, and the power supply was $15.
That's amazing.
How
How good can it be?
good
right?
could it be? Yeah. Well, we're years and years and years we used that case.
Okay.
It's amazing.
We did have some interesting technology news. The FAA has certified the airworthiness of a prototype flying car.
Oh, really? Okay. Where was this happening?
Let's see.
Well, FAA.
In California.
So, all right. So
Yeah,
gotta
so
be
it's in the
America.
U.S. Yeah. So the Aleph Automotive, ALEF.
Okay.
So they've dubbed their car the Model A. It's basically a giant octocopter. Well, it's got four arms
Okay.
with motors top and bottom,
Right.
and a single passenger seat. So I would almost guess it would be classified as a motorcycle if it had wheels. But
It's probably far less insurable than a motorcycle.
yes, that's going to be the problem is the insurance. So it said it has a range of a road range of 200 miles and a flying range of 100 miles, but it has skids. So I guess it
Must have some type
you skid along the road, or it only flies an inch above the road.
of. So it's more of a hovercraft.
Yeah, and it's only $300,000.
Oh, is that all?
Oh, just
That's
get
all.
two.
Yeah. It looks like it has wheels, and then there's extended. The arms will extend and unfold to give you the rotors. But a lot of you quick to point out that we have flying cars now. They're called helicopters,
True.
and they're really, really loud
They are.
and really, really hard to fly, and really, really dangerous with the spinny whirligig blade right up there, right about head height.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, hovers are starting to become very popular too. I've seen a couple 2-passenger hover units.
Yeah, those are hard to steer. You have to start your turn like way before
It's a boat.
it's a boat. Yeah.
Right. Right. With no keel. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the part that makes it tough. Interesting.
But theoretically, with the modern gyroscopes and computer controlled and GPS positioning, something like a flying car would be possible. We see that in the model world. Some of the higher end DJI type drones that have GPS controls, and they have a flight path monitor. On your screen, you draw the path you want it to follow, and it does.
right.
So you need to have less skill to actually fly one, and that's what's causing the problem in the rest of the RC model world is people buying these things that don't know how to fly and then messing it up and crashing into houses and peeping into neighbors' lawns and messing it up for the rest of us that just want to
Yes.
fly our airplanes.
No. Yeah. Go find a nice open field.
Yeah.
Do they have any consumer availability for the toroidal blades yet? The
Oh, that would be
propeller
interesting.
Style,
Yeah. Well,
right? 'Cause it's supposed to be quieter.
electric
more
ducted
efficient.
fans are popular in the RC community. So instead of exposed blades like this thing does,
Yeah.
you put ducts around it.
Ducts.
DUCT, duct.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not quack quack.
So if like an Avatar, the flying helicopters that had the
They're guards.
yeah, so you don't get killed by the blades.
Or the.
But it also helps direct the thrust.
Right. It makes it more efficient, right?
Yeah. And so something like that would be a lot safer.
I meant the I think they're called toroidal blades, where instead of having a straight blade on your propeller, you have basically an oval.
It's a loop.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a loop, and it spreads out the surface area that contacts the air. So instead of the super loud buzz you hear, it's much quieter, and it's much more efficient.
Interesting.
That's very common on submarines. because noise is your enemy
Well,
on a
I think
submarine.
it's relatively new tech.
Yeah.
Where you can spend $5,000 and get a propeller for your boat.
Yep.
Okay. I thought I saw, maybe somebody was like 3D printing a model of one
Yeah.
that I saw.
Yeah. I've certainly seen 3D
Yeah.
prints of it, but
Much
I'm not
quieter,
sure the tolerance
boost-
is there.
Boost fuel economy. Now, when Apple, one of the things they touted a couple generations ago is asymmetrical blades in
Right.
the fans in the computers. So almost I can never hear the fan, even when I ramp it up to full speed. It's really crazy.
Yeah, some of the frequencies destructively interact with each other.
Yep.
And make the fans quieter because they've taken some of the fins and moved them closer together than other parts of the fins. So it makes more than one sine wave of noise
Yep.
or white noise.
I didn't know that. That's fascinating.
It's, that was, I don't know, what was that, Steve? 6-7 years ago?
Something like that. Yeah. One of the I think when they
In the
switched to the
mid-teens.
new case designs.
Right. No, it was
2016,
impressive stuff.
2017. Yeah.
It's always amazed me how much they sweat each individual part.
Yeah.
It's not just the chip. It's not just the keyboard. They sweat each individual thing. It's like, oh no, the hinge has to be just right. The display has to be just right. The weight distribution has to be just right. It's always surprised me that they've spent so much time on so many things. And these are just the things we know about, right? So
Right.
the R&D could be crazy.
Their depth of attention to
Yes.
small detail is impressive.
Well, and I guess that's probably a lot easier to do when you have all the money.
Yeah.
Were they the first $3 trillion company now
Yep.
in market cap?
Yeah, I think they have the second highest market cap on the
Who's
planet.
number one now?
Microsoft.
Microsoft still?
Well, it depends on the stock price that day.
Yeah.
They fluctuate back and forth.
Last time I knew.
But that's always been one of the earmarks of a company that's going to last is how much money do they put into R&D. It doesn't have a directly relatable return on investment.
Right.
So if we spend X dollars on R&D, we're going to get 2X dollars in income.
True.
You don't know that. You got to do basic research to figure out, oh, hey, I can run this screen with 20% less battery life because I made this different conductor.
Right. Well, and R&D is oftentimes where you can come up with a lot more patents
Yeah.
to add to your company's patent portfolio.
Well,
which
that's
is a
about
big
the only
deal.
thing they can say for Windows, though, is speed.
There's an MIT quad with toroidal
Yeah.
blades. You can't even
Yeah.
pronounce that. What's interesting is that's a FPV camera, and the antenna around it is also kind of toroidal
Yes.
Neat.
because that's how they transmit the video signals back.
For those who may not have
And
heard
I'm
this
gonna-
word before,
I'm gonna-
toroidal means a donut shape. It's a circular donut
Yeah.
shape.
Yep.
Donuts, you say.
Yes, donuts. It all comes back to donuts. Delicious.
Well, I'm interested to see Microsoft, what they're going to do with Windows when they
Yeah,
come out with their
'cause-
own hardware.
Because, I mean,
Because it's been revolutionary for Apple.
Yeah.
Taking their own their access, the stack of security in the M1, M2 architecture is unprecedented from my vantage point. And I'm interested to see what happens with Windows.
As
Yeah,
far
that's
as
kind of
new
always been the
features-
problem with Intel chips is that Intel's making them for everybody.
Right.
So it's a really good generic chip.
Right.
Where Apple wants to do this one specific thing, they put it in their chip.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to sell that to other companies, but since Apple's designing their own chips, then they can put it into their design. In fact, and that just brings up a story I read. TMSC, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing, TSMC,
There you go.
just got hit with a Russian ransomware.
Oh, no.
So there might be some delays in chips coming out of TSMC.
That's no good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, as far as new features, I mean, Windows hasn't had a lot of great new features that, like we've talked about before, that,
from a
you'd be,
consumer standpoint, that's true.
lining up at midnight
Yeah.
and, I got to have this next version of Windows because I can't live without it.
Right.
Nor on the Mac side. On the Mac side, you don't see the lines like they used to when this new machine was going to come out or that,
Sure.
this or that. Not like the old days.
True. Yeah. Well, the old days we had limited internet, right? We had some broadband, but not necessarily everywhere.
They're all wearing it on their wrist or
Yeah.
carrying it in their pocket.
And it was more of a retail experience. If you wanted to get it,
Yep.
you bought the boxed retail copy.
Yeah.
And now it's more of an online
Now,
update.
operating systems are often just free.
Yeah.
Yeah, it comes with the device, and
Or
there
for-
you go. And
Or you're forced to install them without when you even don't want it.
Right. Please
Well,
agree to these terms.
So I think there's been a huge growth in enterprise level features. And that ecosystem for a normal consumer is as foreign as another language entirely.
I agree.
yeah,
And there's been a lot of growth there that, from a user standpoint, I could care less about.
Sure.
yeah. I mean, it's like
Management tools, things like that.
yeah, nothing really that. Oh, I couldn't live without it. You know.
No.
Well, and that's sort of been one of the catchphrases at Apple is you didn't know you needed it
Right.
until we designed this feature.
Yeah.
And a lot of
Right.
times that's, when the first iPhone came out, there were phones, there were internet, cellular web browsers, there were MP3 players, but everything all together, no one had ever sort of put that all together in one piece very well. And then suddenly it takes over the world, and now every phone. I saw a picture once of all the things that the iPhone killed.
Right.
Your
On a desk.
VHS camcorders and telephones and Rolodex, still cameras, all and now you have just one thing in your pocket that does these 20 things those other things did.
It's true. A lot of convergence.
Yeah. No, it just makes life so much easier. I want to remind folks, we're coming up on a break shortly, but please give us a call, 966-5299, toll free, 1-800-790-0415 with your questions or comments on just some of the stuff that we're talking about. Because like I said, it's summertime, so it's been kind of a slow news week.
True.
And not a heck of a lot going on in that world.
But
And the same with any other new products coming out. But if you have any questions or things that you'd like to talk about, please give us a call. The lines are open, and we'll get you on the air.
yeah.
And what are those numbers again?
The numbers are 1-800-790-0415 toll free or local 966-5299.
And think about kids going back to school. Think about potentially gifts for the holidays and
Well, graduation
here's-
too right
and
now too.
graduations. and-
I mean, you've got some kids that now are heading off to college.
True.
Looking for
about
the
what to do.
deals and that type of stuff. Because that's this. Matter of fact, this week is Amazon
Yeah.
Prime Days,
That's true.
And a lot of the
Rather
prime
than-
deals have already started.
the 11th and 12th.
And they're doing an invite system this time. Something new.
Oh, like artificial scarcity kind
Yeah.
of approach.
Right.
Might work.
I don't know. I haven't seen anything I need yet.
Well, the first thing is if you're planning to buy anything on Amazon, wait until 11th and 12th and see if it goes on sale.
Right.
One of the very annoying things is if you look at something like Camel,
Right.
that tracks Amazon prices.
What's Camel?
Camel
Steve?
is a really cool website that I learned from Dennis ages ago, and I'll post a link in just a minute.
It's so cool.
And it will
For free.
track Amazon prices over time, and tell you if it's a good price now. So you can see the prices creeping up, and then suddenly they're back down to where they were because it's Prime Day or they're on sale.
Or they went up, because I saw that
Yep.
2 years ago. I was after something, and I waited for the Prime Days, and it went up $50.
Yep.
It's like, hell, heck no.
Just because it's Prime Days
Amazon
doesn't
would-
mean it's a good deal.
Amazon would never gamify prices and things.
Or would they?
All right, that music tells me we have just completed our first half hour. But hey, like I said, the lines are open, so please give us a call, 1-800-790-0415, 966-5299, and we will be back in just a few more minutes to take your questions here at Jazz 90.5. 90.1. What did I say? 90? Oh, wow. It's rough today, folks.
Computer talk you can understand. More Sound Bites is next on member-supported Jazz 90.1.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brad Siegel. The FAA and the NTSB investigating after a jet carrying 6 people crashed this morning near the French Valley Airport in Murrieta, California. The FAA says a Cessna C-550 with 6 people on board went down in a field and burst into flames. The flight departed from Reed International Airport in Las Vegas. The U.S. is now arming Ukraine with cluster bombs in its fight against Russia. The Pentagon announced the move Friday, despite concerns from human rights groups and U.S. allies that the controversial bombs will lead to more civilian casualties. Cluster bombs explode in the air over the target and drop dozens of smaller bombs over a wide area. A Maryland teenager remains in custody as police investigate last weekend's deadly mass shooting in Baltimore. The 17-year-old faces firearms and reckless endangerment charges, but has not been charged with shooting anyone. That investigation continues. 2 people were killed. Brad Siegel, NBC News Radio.
What's the buzz on bees? This is Sandra Tsinglow with the Lowdown on Science. Honeybee populations have majorly declined in recent years. It's called colony collapse disorder, and its cause has eluded beekeepers and scientists. Until now. Nancy Moran and researchers at University of Texas, Austin found a lead. They focused on a commonly used herbicide called glyphosate. Could this be upsetting the bees' guts? The team fed bees sugar or glyphosate for 5 days before exposing them to bad bacteria. Then they studied what was in the bees' tummies. After spilling their guts, what did they say? Bees fed sugar had more good bacteria than bees fed glyphosate. Sugar-eating bees were better at fighting infections caused by bad bacteria. Glyphosate kills the good bacteria that fights bad ones. How? The herbicide stops an important enzyme from working. This imbalance upsets bees' bellies. So safer herbicides could be Plan A or Plan B. Get it? Plan B.
The Lowdown on Science is produced by LDOS Media Lab in partnership with the University of California Irvine Science Communication and 89.3 KPCC, and made possible with the generous support of the Fuse Family Foundation. On the web at LOHDOWNonscience.org.
Ahoy there! It's time to buy your tickets for Jazz Boating and Blues Cruising with Jazz 90.1 for our summer 2023 musical cruises on the Erie Canal. Visit jazz901.org now to purchase your tickets for 4 summer trips aboard the Colonial Belle from Fairport with Jazz 90.1. That's jazz901.org for your tickets.
There are so many reasons to support Jazz 90.1, but there's a benefit of membership that you won't want to miss out on. The Jazz 90.1 member card, which offers 2-for-1 dining discounts and other savings opportunities across our area. The savings add up with the Jazz 90.1 member card, so get yours today by making a contribution of $90.10 or more. Call 966-JAZZ, that's 966-5299, and start saving with your member card today.
It's been said that when someone you love has Parkinson's, you have Parkinson's.
The Parkinson's Foundation knows that the disease doesn't just affect the diagnosed. It affects everyone who supports and helps care for them.
If you have questions, the Parkinson's Foundation has answers.
We can help you understand the disease
and give you tips for living a better life.
Find your answers at parkinson.org or call 1-800-473-4636. The Parkinson's Foundation. Better lives together.
Calling all veterans. Veterans Outreach Center wants you. We provide essential services for veterans in the greater Rochester area. Get employment assistance, health and wellness support, residential services, food, clothing, and so much more. VOC, serving those who serve us for over 50 years. Visit vocroc.org or call 585-546-1081 today to learn more.
Here's the latest Jazz 90.1 weather forecast.
Saturday will end up being the better of the 2 weekend days across western New York and the Finger Lakes. We'll look for intervals of clouds and sunshine. The high temperature into the mid-70s along the Lake Ontario shoreline should be close to 80 as you head inland with a gentle breeze. As we head into your Saturday night, we'll look for increasing clouds and a couple of showers. The overnight low temperature into the low mid-60s. Sunday offers up a shower or two along with a thunderstorm, more clouds than sun, the high temperature in the upper 70s. I'm meteorologist Josh Nicholas for Jazz 90.1.
And currently right now, we've got a few clouds out there, 76 degrees out at the airport and 83 here at member-supported Jazz 90.1.
Hi, this is Jake Longwell. Join me for an hour of music from the worlds of the avant-garde and jazz fusion on Jazz Progressions, Tuesday nights at midnight on member-supported Jazz 90.1.
And welcome back to this edition of Jazz 90.1. I'm Dave Enright.
I'm Steve Ray.
I'm Dennis Worster.
And I'm probably Chris Warren?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I don't know where that other came. I won't even go. Yeah, no, not explain my brain.
So during the break, we were talking about Microsoft Windows and Windows installers and how to make them and what the different strategies are. And Chris, you had a method you think is superior, and I want everybody to know about it.
Yeah, so Microsoft will tell you to go to their website, and whether it's Windows 10 or Windows 11, they'll suggest using the media creation tool.
Okay.
And in my experience, that works great.
So that's
you download it, you run the executable,
and you install it onto a USB
and
drive?
it'll download Windows for you, and then ask you like, oh, I want to put this on a USB thumb drive.
The installer.
Okay. Well, yeah, like basically Windows itself.
Right. So then what?
However, I find that the version of Windows it chooses to put on that thumbstick is kind of old.
And it has to be a Windows computer you put this on.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. Well, so my alternative is a free application called Rufus.
Okay.
And I think their website is rufus.ie,
which is...
I'm looking for it now, yeah.
And yesterday when I went to use it, their DNS, their name lookup on the internet stuff was broken.
Uh-oh.
Which caused some issues that, let's pretend they're not there.
Okay.
Because Rufus, when you go to create one of these images, it'll do more than just Windows, but you can tell it to say, you can say, I want to do Windows 11.
Right.
And it'll download the latest version of Windows.
Okay.
And then you can also, and this is a thing that I think Microsoft doesn't necessarily want you to do, when you go to create that thumb drive, you can turn off the checks to say whether or not Windows 11 can run on the hardware. So you can take a machine that Windows 10 will run on and turn off the TPM checks.
Oh, yeah.
You can turn off the required internet during the install. You can even say, I want a local user named Bob, and do that at install time.
And then anytime you plug that installer USB drive into a machine, it will skip over those checks.
Yep.
And will make your username Bob.
So it builds that whole basis of an install.
And in my experience, I'm getting the newest version of the operating system, and I have much better driver support everything out of the box than I do by using the media creation tool from Microsoft.
Interesting.
And I'm looking for it now. They do have a Mac version as well.
Really? Rufus does?
I've used Rufus and what's the other one? Debian? No. There's 2 or 3 of them that I've tried.
The ones I'm thinking about are like Balena Etcher and other
Yeah,
stuff
that
I've
one.
used
Etcher.
Etcher, yeah,
Right.
I've used Etcher.
I don't think the Balena Etcher one, which I've used, I do use, will do that smart Windows. I'll run the PowerShell script for you to change these settings.
Oh, so all right. I am misremembering. It wasn't Rufus. So I ran Rufus in a VM on my Mac.
So technically it was running on the Mac. If you tell it to completely pretend to not be a Mac.
And the neat thing for me about Rufus is it's like a 2 megabyte download.
Right. Yeah. No, it's a very, very small.
Yeah.
So it's a power tool that does one thing and does it very, very well. And it sounds like you found some flexibility in it for this application.
Well, it gives you options.
Yeah.
That's the key thing. It's allowing you to set up the things that you don't want.
And the same thing with you can make a Mac install disk like that as well. One of the, although that's less useful anymore, one of the big troubleshooting tips that techs use is boot another disk.
Yep.
especially if you're having trouble booting your main computer, boot another disk. You can get to all your data and then erase it and start over again. But now the Macs have put in startup disk security to prevent bad guys from booting another disk and getting your data, but it also prevents you from doing it too until you can turn it off. But you can't turn it off if your startup disk is already damaged.
That's true.
What would be handy, though, with the Windows version, though, is to be able to turn off the stupid features like adding the Microsoft Office package or the security.
Yes. Right.
And all this other garbage that they want to throw in there that you've got to go through and say, do I want to share this? Do I want this on? Turn
Because
that off.
Netflix and Amazon and Spotify,
Skype.
they pay Microsoft.
Yeah.
So that
It'd be
their
great.
little
You can strip all
Microsoft
that stuff
Store
out.
apps show
Yeah.
up. Yeah.
Because
so there's PowerShell scripts you can run to do that.
yeah. But I mean, it'd be great if I could create
Well, so I'm not going to recommend it.
A bare system.
I have used on GitHub. You can find on the internet little. I'm not going to say hackerish, but little
tweaks.
purpose-built applications that collect all of these scripts to run to say get rid of the annoyances, get rid of the things I don't like in Windows 10. Because even though you can't uninstall, let's say, Phone Link on Windows 10 or 11.
Yeah.
You can't just uninstall that. Well, it is an application, and it does have an uninstaller. And if you run the right script, you can get rid of it.
Well, that's where Revo Uninstaller is great, the professional version, in that you can go in there and select a lot of the Windows pre-installed stuff and check it and say, yep, uninstall it. And it'll go through and it'll even get rid of Windows, Microsoft Edge. Get rid of all that junk. You know, if you're not going to use it, you don't. I mean,
it's funny though when we talk about like, oh, I haven't seen new features in any of these operating systems that I care about. Well, there's actually all kinds of integration stuff that day to day I don't lean on my operating system to do.
Most folks, and especially coming from Microsoft. Hello, in my view, Microsoft has lost all credibility as far as backing anything. Like, say, even their Defender, or there's so many programs that have come and said, "Oh, great," and then doesn't do much for them, so they abandon them, and all the people that they first brought on board, say like Microsoft Money or other little programs, they tout them for a little bit, and then they totally drop the bucket and leave them people hanging.
True. Well, and unfortunately, it's not just Microsoft doing that. I think Google is famous for throwing all kinds of resources against the wall for miscellaneous programs and then canceling them sometime later.
The Google graveyard.
Yeah. Google Readers, it's the one I miss the most for managing my RSS feeds and getting my news that way. And I kind of had to switch over to Twitter, and unfortunately Twitter has become less and less useful over the past few months. And I'm kind of stuck. I don't have a great way to get the news that I really want without it being clogged with nonstop ads.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the catch-22 is that the news are free because you're supposed to read the ads, so that the ads pay for the news.
Right.
But so many places now where even if you have a subscription, it doesn't stop the ads. It just cuts down on them a little bit.
Yeah, a few less.
We see that with the streaming services too. So some services will have one price with ads. They'll have another price with fewer ads, and then an even higher price with no ads.
Well, that's why I love pre-recording a lot of my TV programs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I can, granted I'm not seeing it that day, but I can do it the day after and then sit there and fast forward through all those stupid ads, because what TV programs are doing, at least I've noticed, is, the first half hour they're really getting you into the program, and it's the last half hour, I swear, say from 8:30 up to 9 o'clock, every 5-7 minutes, all of a sudden they're breaking for a commercial.
Yep.
Doing 2 or 3 minute ads, and then come back for about 5 to 7 minutes. Boom, more ads, and you're just inundated with ad after ad, and that's why Pre-recording is a blessing.
And then I run into the other time when I happen to be watching live TV and a commercial comes on. I pick up the remote and start hitting fast forward. It doesn't work.
Well, I'll let you know it too.
Yeah. So what do you mean I can't fast forward live TV? It's broken. Fix it.
Time
IT,
machine.
give me your manager.
Time machine.
Yeah. All right. I want to remind folks, please give us a call, 966-5299, toll free, 1-800-790-0415. The lines are open, and we're here to take your questions like we do every Saturday from 12 to 2 here at Jazz 90.1.
Have we made sure the phones are working?
All right.
With the internet being down too?
I'll pretend to be a caller. Hello, guys.
Yeah.
I'm having trouble with my cable modem at home.
Call Sound Bytes.
Yeah.
Hang on, I'll be right back. Hello, guys.
Yeah.
So the
lines are working.
Good. The cable modem has been throwing an error, and I checked the logs, and it says it's an MDD error that I'm having to look up. I'm able to get into the the 192.168.100.1.
What does that mean,
webpage.
Dennis?
That's the web page you can go to when you are inside your network to learn more about your cable modem, at least the one that I have. And it will report things like, I'm connected to the network. I have this many channels of information that are bound together to provide the high-speed bandwidth to my house.
Just
and
to
here's the
interrupt
power
you,
level.
interrupt you 1 second, though. Everybody that's set up a network should have gone into the router at least once when it was first set up to change the password.
Well, this is the cable modem, and you usually can't get in there and make any changes because that's the modem provided by your cable company.
Yeah, but if
unless you bought your own cable modem. So backing up another step, you've got the cable modem.
Yep.
And then you can have your own network modem
Yeah,
and network router, and then you may have a wireless router.
Yep.
So you could have 3 boxes, or you could have one that does it all.
Yeah, yeah.
I think there's a lot of people where they get the cable modem from Spectrum at this point.
Sure.
And then also the Wi-Fi through that.
Right.
And they don't set any of it up, right? Like they got the it's printed right on there.
It's
what your
on the
password
sticker.
is.
But at least they're doing random passwords now. Virtually every wireless router company is doing random passwords printed on the box. But that means somebody knew the password at some point, so you probably should change your so this is the administration password to make changes, not necessarily the Wi-Fi password. So someone could get into your router if they have the administration password and make changes to either lock you out, or they can make themselves an administrative ability to log into the rest of the computers on your network.
Well, I was
Probably not
talking
from the
like
outside.
green light.
Yeah.
They give you the little box, but you got to supply your own router.
Your wireless router,
Yeah.
So that's a little different than the way the cable companies do it.
Right, and you should go right in there and change the password, folks, because usually it's a generic password, and you're susceptible to being hacked.
Although on the other side, that does help when I'm troubleshooting for a customer and I try generic passwords and they work.
Right.
Well, we used to always change the password, folks,
And then write it on the bottom.
and
yep.
I'd type it up, or we'd just print it up, and then tape it to the bottom or top of the router.
Right. Put it right there where
It's
people are going
right
to look
there,
for it.
so, I forgot it. Go downstairs. Boom, there it is for you.
Right.
So I want to hear what Dennis did with this error. So your cable modem was giving you
Yeah,
an error.
I'm sorry.
You went to the management network.
It all started when my son, who's at home this summer, came to me and said, "Dad, the internet's kind of wonky." So I said, "Okay, I've got a degree."
That's a technical term.
I've got a degree in this stuff. I can go check that out.
Degree in wonky.
Yeah.
So I go down to the basement. I check the feed coming in. Yep, the cable's plugged in. The cable modem's got all of its lights on. I said, all right, well, I'll start at the cable and I'll kind of work backwards. So I turn off the power.
Yep.
Count to 10, plug it back in, let it do its little dance. All the lights come on. They check everything over and they come back solid. And I said, okay. Then I went up to the router and I turned that off, counted to 10, turned it back on, let it negotiate back with the modem, let it talk back to my ISP, get everything nice and stable, and it seemed to be okay for about 20 hours or so until my son texted me again the next day while I was at work and said, "Dad, internet's got the same problem." So I said, okay, the basic stuff was not working. So I came home again, I logged into the logs on my router. I said, is there anything, are we dropping our connection somewhere? And the router said, nope, everything's fine. So I said, okay, fine, I'll check on the cable modem. Because we live in an area with a lot of trees near our cable line, and it is not uncommon every few years for squirrels to have come in and decided to chew on things.
Oh, they love cables.
I'm not sure if it's some type of iron deficiency or what the squirrels have going on, but they do enough damage where it affects the signal level getting into my cable modem. So there's not enough signal to keep the cable modem happy, and it ends up dropping a connection.
The moisture, just getting the moisture and all that in there.
Sure, and it
Can
needs to
bring
be
in
just
an
right.
RF.
The signal needs to be not too strong and not too weak in order for everything to work the way it's supposed to. I go into the web page that the cable modem makes, and it will tell me how many units of power each of these channels is getting. So I did some research on DOCSIS 3.0, the standard that all these cable modems are built to, and everything seems to be reasonable and questionable, appropriate
within
spec, I think. But I'm still continuing to get this. Now, I am one of those people that bought their own cable modem years and years ago to try and not have to pay the rental fee. So I do have the responsibility of maintaining that part of the network, and in general, I'm happy to do that. So I have a Motorola Surfboard 6141, I think it is, which is a DOCSIS 3 compliant modem, and I bought this maybe 10 years ago. It's been a long time. So I'm comfortable with the idea that it may be time to replace it, but I'm also trying to figure out what else I can do before I contact the ISP.
Yeah. And avoiding the rental is something that changed between Time Warner and Spectrum.
It is? Okay.
Yeah, so Time Warner used to charge you around $10 a month for your cable modem.
Yeah.
It was different for
it
a lot
was
of our
cheaper,
customers.
and then it went up and up.
It would go up and up and down and up and down. We get different prices from different customers.
Okay.
And for no apparent reason. And then when Charter bought it and became Spectrum, the cable modem is now free, and the wireless router is $5 or $10 or $20
I
a month.
see. Okay, so they're charging for the service, not necessarily for the box.
Right, and most of the time now, Spectrum is giving you two boxes, one for the cable modem, one for the Wi-Fi router.
Right.
And they just sit next to each other. I guess that's easier than, well, I would say one box is easier, but then if someone wants cable without Wi-Fi, so if you already have your own Wi-Fi router, you don't need to get Spectrum's Wi-Fi, and you don't need to pay their rental.
Right.
So check your Spectrum bill. One of the things that has happened, how long ago did Spectrum, Charter buy Time Warner? A lot of people were still on Time Warner services.
Okay.
Which cost more and give you less than Spectrum services. They didn't change. So if you're on Time Warner's, 10 megabit plan,
right.
You still might be. If you never called Spectrum to change to Spectrum's 300 megabit plan that costs less.
No, it's true. I did that 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was one phone call. They said, okay, just turn off your equipment, turn it back on. It will renegotiate.
Sometimes if you had your Time Warner equipment for 10 years, you might have to go get Spectrum equipment. But also check your cable bill to see if you're paying for rental on a cable modem or rental on a wireless. If you have your own wireless, you definitely don't need to pay for their wireless.
Yep.
Because I've seen a few customers will have that, and they just ignore the cable wireless that shows up and use their own. But you're paying extra for that.
Yeah.
Cancel that.
Might as well turn that off.
All right, let's go to the phones. We've got a caller. Bob from Henrietta wants to chime in. Go ahead, Bob.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hope Nick's feeling better.
Yeah, he is.
Anyways, somebody mentioned I didn't hear the whole call. I was outside working on stuff. But somebody mentioned problems with the Motorola SB4161s or whatever the number is.
Okay.
I've got about three of them in the basement. Before I went to Green Light, I bought my own modem too. But that model goes bad about every year or so.
Interesting. Okay, well, I must have had very good luck then.
You can have it cheap or you can have it good. Pick one.
Okay. Is there a model that you'd recommend?
Cheap. They're about $100 a piece last time I bought one.
What unit? Is there a different unit that I should look into?
I just went to using Spectrum's modem. They're not charging you for it.
Right, yeah. Now that they're not charging your rental for it, you might as well use theirs.
Yeah.
That way they
That way I
can't
can blame
blame
them when it
your
breaks.
yeah, and they don't blame your modem when
Right.
it breaks because
Right.
it's their service.
Well, that might be worth a phone call.
Yeah, I'm comfortable just blaming Dennis on this one.
Yeah.
That's your answer for everything.
I had a wicked problem with that particular model.
Interesting.
I don't remember the exact, but it's very close to the one you read up, 6141. They last about a year and then they die.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. Thanks for
All right.
calling in and letting us know.
Have a good day.
All
You
right.
too, Bob.
Yeah, a Motorola surfboard brand was common. Then they sold it and it became Aris.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And so sometimes you'll get an Aris modem from the cable companies. Frontier frequently used a Netgear modem.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah, Netgear was very
And then
popular
Frontier
for a
was
while.
another one too, where they had one box was the DSL router,
Yeah.
and then a second box for your Wi-Fi router,
Okay.
and they never charged extra for either. That kind of surprises me.
Yeah, the phone company in general, well, AT&T, was
Yeah.
known for charging you for anything they could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, take a look at your bills. A lot of people complain about their bills, but never do anything about it. And so we ran into that at our store. We sort of became notorious with some of the Spectrum phone operators, where it's all started out when the switch over from analog TV to digital TV,
Right.
and Spectrum started scrambling all of the lower channels. So it used to be only like HBO and pay channels were scrambled.
Right.
So they scrambled the lower channels, and you had to get a box on all your TVs. Well, Jackie's parents called and said that Spectrum was there putting in 10 boxes into their house. They had 10 TVs
Oh, okay.
for the two of them.
Ugh.
At $10 a month,
Ugh.
every month, for each box. And she went ballistic and told them to come back, rip them all out. We're not doing that.
Right. $1,200 a year.
Yeah.
So that you can watch those channels.
So we got a $25
You can't watch them all
antenna.
at the same time.
Right, yeah, you can't watch them all at the same time. And so that's sort of when 10 years ago now, we started pushing streaming with Apple TV specifically, because we're Apple dealers, but also
Sure.
Roku and Chromecast. And more things were available for streaming. And now you've got companies like YouTube TV and Hulu TV that give you television services
Yeah.
over the internet.
Right. Local channels.
Yeah, and all your local channels. So you don't need to go to Spectrum for TV. You can go to other TV providers now, and so now they're competing. Competition is supposed to drive down prices, and so we're kind of in that point now. Although we're back where I've got 16 streaming services because there's shows on each one.
Right.
Why can't there be one service that has everything? Well, that used to be your cable
Yeah,
company.
it was called your cable company.
Yeah, but
And
now
you
they
didn't
don't
want-
have everything anymore.
Right. And they had all
Yeah.
these channels I don't
So
watch.
check your bill for things you don't have anymore. We had a customer that had 9 DVRs on their account for their one-bedroom apartment because every time they had a problem with their DVR, Spectrum gave another one
Oh,
and
they
forgot to take the old one. Forgot to take the old one off, and it went back years. The customer thought, and they only gave him like a 2 or 3 month credit.
Oh my goodness.
on 9 DVRs at what is it, $15-20 a month each.
That sounds like a call to a lawyer.
Yeah. Check your phone. Check your bill. Check your phone bill. Check your credit card statements for unusual. Don't wait till the end of the month. Log online and check them.
Right.
Check your bills to see if there's stuff you're being charged for that you aren't actually getting or using.
All right. That music tells me an hour has just flown by. And we've got a couple folks on the phone, so just stick it there and hold on. We will be back very shortly. We've got to take a short break. And it's your opportunity, if you haven't, take a bio break, as Nick would always say, get some liquid refreshment, because we will be back very shortly to take on more questions, more opinions, and more answers, hopefully for all of you folks here on Jazz 90.1. Don't go far. We'll be right back.
Online 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at soundbytes.org. More with Nick Francesco, Dave Enright, and Steve Ray next on member-supported Jazz 90.1.
WGMC Greece Rochester.
A public service of the Greece Central School District.
Jazz 90.1.
On Facebook at Jazz 901 FM.
NBC News Radio, I'm Julie Ryan. President Biden will be heading to Eastern Europe next week to take part in a NATO summit. Brad Siegel reports.
National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan told reporters that Tuesday's meeting in Lithuania will demonstrate unity and resolve in support of Ukraine in its war against Russia. Sullivan says NATO is stronger than ever with the addition of Finland and the expected ascension of Sweden.
The Biden administration says it's providing cluster bombs to Ukraine in its fight against Russia. White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan defended the move, arguing the munitions are crucial for Ukraine to defend its territory against Russian forces. Texas police are arresting 2 men for a mass shooting in Fort Worth that killed 3 people and injured 8. Police arrested 20-year-old Christopher Reddick and 19-year-old Brandon Williams. They're accused of opening fire into a crowd of hundreds on Monday night following a 4th of July celebration. Julie Ryan, NBC News Radio.
Jazz at the Beach, a free community concert series brought to you by Jazz 90.1 and the Ontario Beach Park Program Committee, returns this year. For more information, including a full series lineup, visit our website at jazz901.org. Jazz at the Beach, brought to you by the Summit Federal Credit Union.
The newly renovated Jazz 90.1 gift shop is open with new and familiar items for you to enjoy and to show for your favorite community jazz station. The shop is easy to find and easy to use. You can purchase Jazz 90.1 baseball caps, coffee mugs, shopping bags, t-shirts, and more. Browse the new Jazz 90.1 gift shop at jazz901.org and click on Support Jazz 90.1.
Here's another I Love New York travel tip. Whether you want to cool off with a refreshing swim or just catch some rays and read a book, New York is the place to be with some of the top-rated beaches in the U.S. Ocean beaches are abundant on Long Island. Popular destinations include the Hamptons, Fire Island, Jones Beach, and Montauk. New York also has great beaches around its lakes, including Grafton Lake State Park in Grafton, Lake Beach State Park on Lake Ontario, and Cumberland Bay on Lake Champlain. There are also beaches along rivers, including Wellesley Island State Park in Fineview and Cedar Point on the St. Lawrence. To learn more about beaches in New York State, visit the I Love New York website at iloveny.com. Download the I Love New York app on Google Play and the Apple App Store, or dial 1-800-CALLNYS. So many places to hit the beach. It's easy to love New York.
Most of us like to be out in the sun. That's why sunscreen and other safety measures are key to protecting your skin from aging and cancer. The FDA recommends using a sunscreen with an SPF of 15 or higher. Also, look for broad spectrum on the label. That means both harmful ultraviolet A and B rays are blocked. Remember, SPF plus broad spectrum equal healthy fun in the sun. Visit www.fda.gov/sunscreen for more information. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
All families are different, and some have parents or children with little to no eyesight. But this doesn't stop them from sharing the work, play, love, and laughter of family life. Eyesight doesn't define a parent, a child, or a family. What counts is being together. Want to learn more? Visit us on the web at blind.org. The National Federation of the Blind. Live the life you want.
Staying active and healthy as we age starts with strong bones. To keep your bones strong, you need calcium, vitamin D, and regular exercise. A bone density test called DEXA helps detect low bone mass and bone disease called osteoporosis. If you're 65 or older, Medicare provides free bone density tests every 2 years. Ask your doctor to schedule yours. For more information on how to be bone strong, visit pathtogoodbonehealth.org.
Welcome back to America's longest-running computer show, Sound Bytes, on member-supported Jazz 90.1. Get online now. Call 966-JAZZ. That's 966-5299. Toll-free 800-790-0415. Or submit your question by email at soundbytes.org. Once again, here's Nick Francesco, Dave Enright, and Steve Ray on member-supported Jazz 90.1.
And welcome back to the second hour of Sound Bites. I'm Dave Enright.
I'm Steve Ray.
I'm Dennis Worster.
And as far as I know, I'm Chris Horn.
Yeah.
Okay, and
That's what he told us.
We're going to go right back to the phones. We got Steve from Greece on the phone. Go ahead, Steve.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. And I use the term loosely.
Thank you.
We're used to that, as appropriate.
We resemble that.
Yes, you do. I was reading PC World online the other day, and I ran across an article that Microsoft plans to replace Mail.
Steve, hold on. Are you got us on speakerphone?
Yes.
Please take it off.
Yeah, it makes it sound so much better when we can.
Yeah, that
puts you a lot closer to our ears.
Yeah, it's just got a. In our headsets, it acts goofy.
So you're telling us about PC World and Microsoft?
We just lost him.
Okay, I'm sure he'll call back.
Yeah, Steve, call back.
Yeah.
Yeah, folks, when you call us, I can understand, if we put you on hold and that you want to sit there and listen to the show and what's going on. But once we pick it up, and like that one ad that I played once, let's see, I got it right here.
Before you call into our show, please make note of the following rules. 1, turn your radio down. 2, turn your radio down lower. 3, remember, nobody has invented a good-sounding speakerphone yet. Don't use them. 4, make sure you have a point. It makes for a more interesting show. 5, calling does not guarantee you'll get on the air. No whining. 6, if you do get on the air, please do not tell the host what you just told the screener. We don't care. And 7, is that radio turned down yet? We hope this will make for a more enjoyable program, and we thank you for your time.
And that's not kidding, folks. It does sound terrible,
and also on the radio to the other people, it doesn't sound good.
Yeah. Wait, but we don't need to have a point, though, do we?
Well,
no.
I mean, ideally, we're shooting for that, but
yeah,
I mean, we do our best.
Yep,
it's a mountain to climb for me.
Okay,
all right,
we
back?
we got Steve back. Go ahead, Steve.
Sorry about that.
Oh, so much better.
No, it just.
As I said, I was reading a article from PC World,
yes,
and they were talking about replacing mail and calendar with a unified Outlook app.
Okay,
sure.
And it's going to actually beginning next year. And they mentioned that it's also going to affect Gmail, Yahoo Mail, and others. And how is their changing the app going to affect the other mail servers?
It doesn't affect them at the other end. It affects them at your end. If you're using Microsoft's mail client to read your Gmail and read your Spectrum mail and read your Microsoft mail, it's going to change the way it looks.
Okay.
Because it's going to be a new app now. I have had so many customers get so frustrated when they upgrade their OS and the mail app looks different.
Right.
It's 99% the same. I just had one the other day. He couldn't find the search bar because it's not above the mailing list anymore. It's above the button bar.
Right.
In the new Outlook.
Yeah.
So he just had to look up an inch, but he didn't see it because it was in the wrong place.
Well, you're
for
used
him.
to it in
Yep.
a particular
you
place.
get complacent,
Yeah.
and, I mean.
And for the longest time, Microsoft Internet Mail and News was the really, really old program that did mail and calendar and RSS for news. And one of the things we've always joked about Microsoft Outlook is it's one megalithic program that tries to do everything. Contacts and calendars and tasks and appointments and scheduling and
all
mail.
in one.
And Apple has got multiple smaller programs that does one thing well, but they all talk to each other.
Right.
So we joke about Microsoft being the megalithic monster, and Apple being the small and nimble.
Plucky.
But now Apple's
$1 trillion
pretty megalithic these days too.
Right.
And there's advantages both ways.
Yeah.
But because they're going to be making a new app, it's going to change the look and feel of how you get your mail. So if you are getting mail from Google and Yahoo in the Microsoft Mail app and not on their websites, it can also make it look different as well.
Yeah, I never get anything through the Outlook stuff. Haven't done it since they started using it.
Yeah. And that's the other problem. I hope they don't call it Outlook Lite or something like that.
Oh, they're gonna.
Microsoft has 100 products called Outlook, and they all do vaguely similar, but a lot of different things.
And it's not that they're coming out with a new app, right? They're just not making the separate mail and calendar apps.
Well, there used to be Windows
now.
There used to be Windows Live Mail,
Right.
and then it was Microsoft Mail.
So if you've used Outlook, the web-based Outlook is really almost the exact same code, right?
It's come a long way.
It's a thing called Electron that lets you package it as an app, but it's really a website technology running on the guts of this thing. So Outlook as an app is very close to Outlook as a website, and they're just going to make you have the same experience on your operating system.
Well, I guess I'm a little concerned also that the reason they're doing this is they want everything to feed their Copilot AI engine, and
Right. Well, and you don't have to use the Microsoft apps at all. You can use Thunderbird or any of the other mail apps to read your mail.
Yeah, I don't know that they're necessarily taking Google's approach to reading your email.
See, Google almost has never made a desktop app. It's always they assume you're going to be on the web.
What did you say the article said?
So this is the quote. This matters because Outlook and many other components within Windows will eventually become inputs for Microsoft's Copilot AI engine.
Yeah, I think that's from my vantage point. I would see that as they want to make Cortana powered by Copilot AI, so that when you ask a question, you're not just getting a system on your laptop or PC that has looked at all your PDFs and documents and emails. You're getting something with this AI chatbot kind of technology cooked in, where it actually has some understanding of what the content is.
Right. I'm also betting that they're going to have a checkbox somewhere where people can choose what Cortana learns about.
Yeah, you can turn Cortana off. You'll be able to turn this off, one way or the other.
I have found one advantage of the Chat GPT. When I do a search for something on the internet and they just don't answer the question,
right?
If I put that same question to the Chat GPT, I get exactly what I was looking for.
Oh.
And the cautionary tale there that I
know, you got to check it.
Well, right, you have to check it because it's generative AI, meaning that if you word it correctly or incorrectly, it'll make up an answer.
Generates an answer, whether it's right or not, not implied.
Right. And that generative part of it is really part of this revolution.
And Microsoft owns a big chunk of ChatGPT too.
It certainly does.
They don't. Well, I guess they invested in the company. I guess we own your ass.
Yeah.
and Microsoft Copilot is already showed up in Windows 11 already.
Yeah.
So you may, if you've got Windows 11, you may already have it and not realize.
I mean, it's cooked into Edge now.
Yep. And especially if you use the Bing. Yep.
Who knows? We could start saying I'm going to Bing it anytime ago. That could finally catch on.
I've been waiting. I've been waiting so long.
I like saying it during meetings, ironically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hang on, I'm going to Bing that.
That's why in the very early days I liked Ask Jeeves. I'm going to ask Jeeves.
Yes.
It was good tech too.
Well, thanks for calling and letting us know.
And thank you for the information. I thought they were going to change all my email things, and just the ones that go through them, and I don't have to worry about that because I don't go through them.
Isn't that nice? Isn't that good news?
Yep.
That's good news.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Have a great one.
Yep.
As we move into summer vacation and traveling series,
yes.
The FBI has warned consumers not to use public phone charging stations. There has been an issue for a long time called juice jacking, or power jacking, where bad guys will set up a fake charging port that's really a computer, and you plug your phone in to charge it, and it sucks all your data off your phone.
Interesting.
So don't use a public charging port. Use your own AC adapter and your own cable. There are cables you can get that have the data lines severed, so
Right.
it's charging only.
Mm-hmm.
But this has been such a problem that Apple added a feature in the iPhone
Okay.
where if you plug your phone into a computer, even your own,
Yes.
a window pops up and says, "Do you want to trust this computer?"
Right.
If you didn't know you were plugging into a computer, unplug it and run away.
Right.
Because you've plugged into a fake power outlet that's trying to suck all the data off your phone. So don't trust it. Unplug it, and don't use public charging USB ports. Always plug in with your own AC adapter just to be safe.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why I think a wonderful gift for all those people that are hard to buy for.
Especially coming up for Prime Day.
Yes, is a nice battery pack.
Yeah.
So that if you're out and about, you keep this in your bag or your pocket or your purse, and if your phone's getting low, you can plug it in. You put your phone in the pocket or in the purse, connect it up, and let it charge while you're walking around. You don't have to be tethered to the wall or in your car. It makes for a very convenient item.
All right, let's go back to the phones. We got Mark from Greece. Go ahead, Mark.
Hey, guys. Speaking of Microsoft, you were talking earlier. My understanding is Cortana's going away.
Is that right?
Yep.
It makes sense.
They're going to abandon it.
Okay.
And it'll just be a chatbot like PC Bing or something.
Why didn't they just name the new chatbot Cortana and extend her releases?
I don't know. I think they're going to rename it Clippy.
Clippy, let's get Clippy back, yeah. Well, see, if you know the Halo series, you don't want Cortana working on your stuff.
Oh.
Yeah, from what I understand, is
almost as bad as GLaDOS.
Right.
Because it was really meant for their phones.
Right.
That most people just really don't use it that much on their PC.
Interesting.
Yeah, even the speech commands are built into Mac and Windows. Most people never use them on their computers.
It's true.
And rarely use them on their phone. The only thing I use the speech command on my phone for is to remind me, and it puts a thing on my reminder list.
Nice.
Sometimes in the car I'll use it to call home, but even that I don't like talking hands free on the car because I'm still trying to pay attention to driving.
Right.
Right. Another thing you guys mentioned, the phone app. I love that phone app on my computer.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, Phone Link, yeah.
I love it. I mean, there's some times that I'm sitting at that computer and I'm getting text after text, and my phone's in the kitchen.
Yeah.
You know,
and you can type so much faster.
Yeah, and it's all very, very convenient. I mean, yeah, it can be a little wonky at times, but most of the time it works pretty well.
Good.
I'm going to post a link to that, and they added Apple iPhone messages support. So you almost have a way to do iMessages on Windows.
Yeah, I'm using it at home. It's better than not having it. It's not as tightly integrated or well connected as the way messages would work on a Mac operating system with my phone.
Interesting.
But it works at all.
If I have my headset on, I can even answer the phone call.
Yeah, that's great.
You know, I can place the phone call, I can take the phone call, I can do the texts. You know, sometimes it's a little much and I turn it off, but, I just unlink it. But most of the time, I love it. I think it's great.
That's cool. And they have versions for Android and iOS, so it works with both ways. I wonder if you can put them both on at once if you happen to have both platforms. Or would they fight with each other?
Probably. We'll let you try it during the break and tell us.
Yeah. Well, you get all three OSs on one major computer, and then we have to have then you got to run a VM to get the fourth one in there.
Sure.
And another VM for Linux.
And then you network them all on the same computer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can have your own LAN party.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks for calling.
Yep.
So it's kind of nice. Apple has had that feature among its own products for a while, continuity and handoff, where you get home, you plug your phone into the charger.
Mm-hmm.
If your phone rings, it'll ring the computer or the iPad or the watch you have with you, so you don't have to run over to the charger and see who it is.
Right.
It's a more compelling idea of a connected home, even without the IoT stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Let's go back to the phones. We got Bill from Greece. Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah. Currently, I'm using Windows 10, and I dual boot Linux.
Okay.
And I was wondering about upgrading to Windows 11, But I heard there's a problem doing a dual boot with Linux because something maybe boot locker or something, or maybe secure boot. If I upgrade to Windows 11, am I not going to be able to dual boot Linux?
That's a good question. So what Linux are you running right now?
I've got 3 of them.
Okay.
I've got Arch and Ubuntu and Emubuntu.
Yeah, so I think Ubuntu, Fedora, some of the Red Hat ecosystem, they will provide you a way to use secure boot, the same way that Windows wants to. And I know Windows 11 is going to try and enforce that. That's, I think, the thing that would break the grub bootloader that you're using to boot into 2 different operating systems.
Yeah, but you have to turn off secure boot.
For Arch, because I know Arch doesn't do anything to do with secure boot.
But I was reading something on the internet that there's something called boot locker that will stop you from getting into your Linux, even worse than secure boot.
Right.
I think it's
BitLocker
BitLocker is
BitLocker.
the encryption tech
Yeah.
that Windows uses.
So if you encrypt your entire hard drive with a Windows encryption program,
But it's just
Linux
that
has no way to
drive.
see it.
Yeah, it's just going
Right.
to be your C
So
drive.
That partition.
Just that one volume, not the whole drive.
I am sure there's a way to make it work.
I found an article on Tom's Hardware on how to do it using Rufus to make the install disk.
Yeah. You like, so let's say you have Windows 10 and you're going to run the Windows 11 upgrade on that computer. There might be a way ahead of time to say don't do the BitLocker encryption. Don't require that.
Read all of the screens and click on any options buttons to see what the options are.
Yeah.
Expand those and see the list of checkboxes.
What kind of computer is this?
It's built by a local company. I like to support our local dealers.
Nice.
Very well.
good.
Nice. I would say maybe instead of dual booting, I would put Linux on a separate drive entirely.
Well, okay, I said dual booting to keep it easy. Actually, I have what's called a Kingwin switch, and I've got a couple of drives there for Windows. I got an SSD, and then I got a regular spinning drive for data, and then I got 3 drives on the switch for Linux, so I can just push a button and switch to the Linux.
You are my kind of nerd. That is awesome.
Yeah. No, I think that's actually going to work in your favor.
Yeah.
In this
Well,
situation.
I know when I put the Windows 10 on, the place where I had it boot, I don't know if I can mention your name, MicroWorks, they had a heck of a time getting it to work with Linux. They had to put into the BIOS an old BIOS. They couldn't use a new BIOS because they couldn't turn off stuff in order to get it to recognize Linux. And that's why I'm worried about jumping to Windows 11.
Well, that shouldn't do anything to your BIOS.
Yeah.
Well, I think they probably wanted to turn off secure boot
And
or
legacy.
enable the legacy booting method, not EFI.
That's what they enabled, legacy.
Yep.
Yeah. But I think all of those Linuxes you talked about will support UEFI, but Arch at least won't do secure boot. Maybe it's time to
I think it'll work.
Try a reinstall and move your data and try a different flavor of Linux.
Yeah. Well, see, I'm kind of a Linux nerd. I've been using it since 1996.
Okay.
And to date, I've put on, installed, and broken 307 distributions.
Right on.
All right.
That's how you do it.
Every
Well, let's
couple
go for
months, I
308.
throw a new one on.
Well, I think you're the tip of the spear then. It's more likely that you're
I
going to
run
have the
around with the
success
arrow
and
on
then
my
call
back.
back and tell us about it.
I'm the guy with the arrow in my back.
Yep, that's the pioneers.
That's unfortunately what happens.
But isn't it fun?
Yeah, it's just I don't want to throw Windows 11 on and find out I can't play with Linux anymore.
Right.
Yeah. No.
I'm putting my money on it's going to be okay.
I think so too.
I don't believe Windows 11 is going to do anything to your machine that you.
I don't think it's smart enough.
Will
to,
will break.
It'll protect its partition.
Right.
On that drive.
Right, but I got different drives. I'm not doing the dual boot.
It doesn't do anything to the other drives.
Yeah, it doesn't do anything to the other drives.
Unplug them to be safe if you're really worried.
It doesn't have the ability to change your BIOS settings on you, right? It can't
Right.
do that.
Right.
So worst case scenario is you enable secure boot because Windows 11 requires it. And then you have to disable it when you switch drives to boot off of Linux. I think that is the worst case scenario.
Okay, that's what I have to do to my. I've got another tablet thing. I have to do that every time I switch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you're going to be okay.
Yeah. Go for it.
But please call back after you do it and tell us if it went really well or if it went really badly. Either way, it'll make a great show.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
All right. Have a great night.
Maybe this will finally be the year of Linux.
Well,
on the desktop,
they've been trying.
Yeah.
Actually, what's interesting is without realizing it for most people, Unix underlies everything we do.
Oh, yeah.
Just desktop Linux that we've got, but Android is based on Unix. Mac OS is based on Unix.
Based on Next Step, which was based on BSD.
Yeah, all of those Internet of Things you've got are probably running a tiny version of Linux. Your DVRs for your TV recordings are probably running Linux.
The security system for Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
This is Unix. I know this.
Exactly.
What I would recommend to folks, if you're thinking of trying some flavor of Unix, is literally go to YouTube and do a search on different flavors of Unix and see what they can do, because the look and feel is much like, you can have it look just like a Mac desktop, you can have it look just like a PC desktop, or you could have it stay like Linux.
And it doesn't have to be a command line anymore. That used to be the olden days.
Yeah.
And Nick used to joke when I first started bringing the Mac into to Soundbytes. Tony Placilla, our Linux guy at the time, was, it's got it. So I bring up the command line, and he's all excited about the command line. Oh, it's got a command line. Oh, it does this, it does this, it does it.
Right.
Yeah, because it's BSD Unix under there.
Right.
But so you can make it look like anything you want. The graphical interfaces, we talk about KDE and GNOME, and what are some of the other ones? And
XSFC.
Yep.
And the thing of it is there are so many other programs that'll run on it that you sit there and say, well, I want to listen to my music, or I want to edit photos.
They've got
there.
That. Yep.
And updates, mine updates during the night. I have it update automatically, so when I turn it on the next day, it just does the updates. It just keeps me protected from any flaws or additions or anything else that they've done or modified to the operating system.
Right.
And it's great. It's worry-free. And again, more and more companies are now considering Linux very viable in that they're supporting both the Mac, Linux, and PC. They're going all three.
Microsoft is currently a huge contributor to the Linux kernel. And I mean, there's the Linux subsystem for Windows.
That's true.
Thing. So you could just run at least command line stuff right inside of Windows.
Yeah, and a lot of Linux programs run in the Mac, loaded through Homebrew or something, that almost without alteration. Some of them you do need a little bit. So Linux is available on all platforms already, and you can get all these free programs.
Yeah, and a lot of them, like I say, you can go into and select it, and it'll pre-install it. Or if you see a program you want, you go to their website, and they say, well, here's the Linux version. Well, you can download it to your Linux machine, and most of them now have it automatically set up that you can just click on the icon, and it will automatically install the full program.
Right.
And it's right there for you. You don't have to get into a terminal window and give these other commands and all that other stuff.
You can if you want to.
That
was the olden days 50 years ago when we started playing with command lines and AppleSoft Basic.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't have all this GUI that we have now. Everything was.
Yep.
Some of us are more GUI now than we used to be.
I'm more scuzzy.
What was the
Well, you know what? I think we're talking about details of use, but not for me, the most compelling reason to use Linux on a machine is that I can take an old Mac, an old PC that won't run a current operating system, put Linux on it, and be completely up to date with security and my browser. Because when I'm at home, how much stuff am I doing that is not just the internet?
Yep.
So it'll do every internet thing there is for free.
All right. Tell you what, folks, that music tells me we're coming up on the bottom of the hour. So if you want to take another quick break, please do. The phone lines are open, 966-5299, toll free, 1-800-790-0415, and we will be back in a few minutes to take more of your questions here at Jazz 90.1.
It's
Don't
America's
panic when you find flaky red,
NBC
green,
News
white,
Radio,
yellow
I'm
substances
Julie Ryan.
known as
President
lichens
Biden
in the
will be
trunk or
heading-
branches of your trees and
Member-supported
shrubs.
Jazz 90.1.
Don't panic when you find flaky gray, green, white, or yellow substances known as lichens on the trunk or branches of your trees and shrubs. These growths do not damage the plant, but may indicate your tree and shrub needs a bit of TLC. Hi, I'm Melinda Myers, horticulturist and gardening expert. Lichens are composed of a fungus and green or blue-green algae. The algae provides the photosynthesis to produce food, while the fungus supplies water and minerals and protects the algae. This mutually beneficial relationship allows them to withstand harsh environmental conditions. Although the lichens usually don't harm the plant they reside upon, they are most common in declining trees and shrubs where branches have died, allowing the sunlight to reach the lichens. Reduce the problem by providing plants with proper care. Expand the mulch beds around trees and shrubs. Remove dead and damaged branches and water plants thoroughly when needed. Check out our website for this and other gardening tips.
NBC News Radio, I'm Julie Ryan. President Biden will be heading to Eastern Europe next week to take part in a NATO summit. Brad Siegel reports.
National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan told reporters that Tuesday's meeting in Lithuania will demonstrate unity and resolve in support of Ukraine in its war against Russia. Sullivan says NATO is stronger than ever with the addition of Finland and the expected ascension of Sweden.
The Biden administration says it's providing cluster bombs to Ukraine in its fight against Russia. White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan defended the move, arguing the munitions are crucial for Ukraine to defend its territory against Russian forces. Texas police are arresting 2 men for a mass shooting in Fort Worth that killed 3 people and injured 8. Police arrested 20-year-old Christopher Reddick and 19-year-old Brandon Williams. They're accused of opening fire into a crowd of hundreds on Monday night following a 4th of July celebration. Julie Ryan, NBC News Radio.
Jazz 90.1 is supported in part by Summit Responsible Solutions, a manufacturer of organic, all-natural mosquito control products under the Mosquito Dunks brand name. Mosquito dunks can be used in ponds, bird baths, rain barrels, or wherever water collects. Non-toxic to people, pets, fish, birds, and other wildlife, mosquito dunks are available at local and national garden centers everywhere. Information on how to control mosquitoes can be found at summitresponsibleSolutions.com. Jazz 90.1 is supported in part by our members and by animal repellent Plant Skid. It's organic and safe for use on fruits and vegetable gardens, as well as trees, shrubs, and flowers. Plant Skid uses odors associated with predators, encouraging animals like deer, rabbits, bulls, elk, moose, chipmunks, and squirrels to dine elsewhere. Information on how to protect plants from animal damage can be found at plantskydd.com. That's plantskid.com.
The United States Deputy Sheriff's Association is a national nonprofit and the largest non-governmental provider of services to law enforcement. The USDSA assists city, county, state, and federal agencies with free safety equipment donations and officer survival training, along with cash donations to families of law enforcement officers who perish in the line of duty, a citizen awareness program, and more. For more information on United States Deputy Sheriff's Association, please visit usdeputy.org.
Jazz 90.1 weather.
Saturday will end up being the better of the 2 weekend days across western New York and the Finger Lakes. We'll look for intervals of clouds and sunshine. The high temperature into the mid-70s along the Lake Ontario shoreline should be close to 80 as you head inland with a gentle breeze. As we head into your Saturday night, we'll look for increasing clouds and a couple of showers. The overnight low temperature into the low mid-60s. Sunday offers up a shower or two along with a thunderstorm, more clouds than sun, the high temperature in the upper 70s. I'm meteorologist Josh Nicholas for Jazz 90.1.
And currently right now we've got a few clouds out there, 76 degrees out at the airport and 80 degrees here at member-supported Jazz 90.1.
This is Derek Lucas. Tune in, turn on, and jazz out with me each and every weekday morning from 6 until 10 a.m. on member-supported Jazz 90.1 and jazz901.org.
And welcome back to the last half hour of Sound Bites. I'm Dave Enright.
I'm Steve Ray.
I'm Chris Horn, and Dennis is here, but I think he's eating donuts or something.
He had to step out for a brief moment. And want to remind you, the numbers to call are 966-5299, toll free, 1-800-790-0415 with your computer questions. And remember, we only got a half hour left, so call and get in. The lines are open. And what were we?
Yeah, we're talking about the proliferation of Unix underneath everything we do today.
So there are so many videos out there, folks, that you can watch on all the different flavors. Like cinnamon happens to be a very popular one right now. And you can watch the videos as they'll demonstrate the different features in the various flavors. And literally, there are different flavors of Linux and what they got to offer. And it's gotten so easy to install. You know, use a thing like Rufus or one of the others, and it's not hard. Put it on a thumb drive stick, and it goes like crazy. You know, not much power. That's why we tell a lot of folks to use an older computer, because quite often. It doesn't need a lot of horsepower. It doesn't take a lot of space either. So definitely check it out.
Yeah. And
that's Rob.
The Linux does a great job of picking up the hardware that's already on your equipment. So if you're installing it on a laptop and your laptop has Wi-Fi, it'll say, oh, I see that there's a Wi-Fi chip here. I'll load the drivers for this, and suddenly your Wi-Fi works, and you don't have to configure that.
It's not like it used to be where you had to download all the drivers for each of your components separately.
And you had to do it in the right order.
Yeah.
And that is a neat thing about Linux, which is if you have some really old hardware, these days where Windows 10, current Mac doesn't have drivers for it, but you still have this old printer that just won't give up, it'll probably work on Linux. If it's USB, it'll work on Linux, even if it won't work on Windows.
No, I think it'll be fine.
Yeah. And like I say, you don't have, like with the current Windows machines, especially Windows 11, we're always telling folks, and which disheartens me, they'll sit there and sell these machines with the Windows 11 on it and only 4 gig of memory.
Oof.
8 is, my estimation, minimum. 16 is better. If you can go to 32, knock it out of the park, folks, because the more dance floor that you give Windows to do its thing, the better it's going to perform for you.
We've also started seeing, especially in the Apple world with their Apple Silicon system on the chips, since the memory is on the same chip as the CPU, it's so fast, it basically acts like double the amount it used to be. So I was upgrading a customer this week with the medical software, and they recommended 64 gigs of RAM and an Intel quad-core i7 for Windows.
Okay.
And on the Mac, it was 16 gigs of RAM and an Apple Silicon.
Oh, my goodness.
Because it's that much closer. There's no memory bus it has to go over.
Yeah, but initially the M1 Mac Pros, you couldn't get more than 16 gigs of RAM.
True, even if you wanted to.
You can now, right?
Yeah,
at the time,
192 is the max.
Yes, with the latest chips.
With the latest chips, and that doesn't seem like a lot. It's way overkill for the average user, but it may not be enough for some high-end scientific people. I read an article where someone was complaining the old Mac Pro used to go to 1.5 terabytes of RAM, and say you're doing DNA sequencing. Well, that 3 billion nucleotides in a DNA strand?
Right. Last time I counted by hand.
If you're doing Jurassic Park, 1.5 terabytes of RAM is not enough to sequence the DNA. So it's got to do it in stages. So 192 gigs, there's a lot of people wondering if the new Mac Pro is, worth it, and if is it going to have a market. So the Mac Studio came out, and it's a small box with super high-end chips in it.
Right.
And then the Mac Pro is basically the same thing, but with PCI slots. So it comes with the M2 Ultra chip. but you've got 6 PCI slots, so that you can put in your DigiDesign card and your Blackmagic card, and you're doing
audio processing.
Right. For the Super Bowl, and you need 100 mics coming into your system.
Yes.
Do any of the new Macs support third-party video cards yet?
Not video display cards, but graphic processing cards. Yes.
So if you have a project like a commercial or a movie or a television show, and you need to crunch it down so that you can make it ready for streaming, or to transfer across the internet with H.265 or some other compression algorithm, then they have tools that will help process that.
But the M2 Ultra chips in the Mac Studio and the Mac Pro support 8 monitors by themselves.
Right.
And the M2 Pro in the Mac Mini can do what? The Pro can do.
8K?
They can do 6K and 2 4Ks. But on the M2 Ultra chip, it can do up to 8 monitors total. So you can do 7 6Ks and 1 8K.
Wow.
And the M2 Pro chip can do 5 monitors total.
Right.
And so if you need a lot more than that,
right,
you're probably doing special hardware anyway.
Sure.
Well, at my day gig, we record concerts.
Yeah.
And one of the things we're working on is how many different cameras can we have and at what resolution, all pulling into the same box at once. We want to try and keep those all together and be able to switch between them and have one view of performers and one view of audience and one view from one angle and a different angle. So there are lots of things that we want to capture all at once. So having the ability to move that much bandwidth, that much information is
that sounds like a 10
critical.
gig Ethernet thing just to keep it latency down.
Right. So we're trying to figure out what's possible, and the announcements from the new Macs that are able to ingest those 8K up to 8K streams times however many is really good news for us.
Yeah. What kind of is almost fun from our perspective is we always try to max out everything.
Oh, sure, and then see what it costs.
See what it costs. The old Mac Pro.
Okay.
With the Intel Mac Pro.
Okay.
With 1.5 terabytes of RAM. 8
Apple RAM.
Apple RAM.
Yeah.
8
cha-ching.
8 terabytes of storage,
Okay.
maxing out the processor. So the 64 core processor.
Right.
Was about $50,000.
Okay. But for a media company.
Yeah. The RAM was 20. So a terabyte and a half of RAM was like 20 grand. The
20
8
grand.
the
That
8
was half
terabyte
of it.
8 terabyte storage was like 10 grand.
Right.
At the time. Nowadays, the Mac Pro, because it only goes to 192 gigs of RAM, but you can do the 8 terabytes of storage. It's only $12,000.
Oh.
Only
12. Yeah.
Well, that's like 75% off.
Yeah. And if you don't need slots, then you get the studio,
right.
and it's half the price.
That was a decision that we were looking at very strongly during my day gig.
Yeah. In fact, I was just joking. One of our customers upgraded from iMac 5K to a Mac Studio, and it's so overkill for him.
Yeah.
But he wanted it. I want the best I can get.
Okay.
Sure thing.
Here we go.
Hey,
Here we go.
He's got the money.
Yeah.
The tricky part of that is that the 5K iMac had just a beautiful 27-inch display, and it kills me because the displays are rarely the thing that gets outdated on those. It's everything else. It's like it won't run the latest OS or what have you. And then there's this beautiful display that you're not using anymore. And trying to find a replacement for your Mac Studio, a 5K display, not cheap.
Yeah. Well, so Apple now has their own 27-inch 5K and 32-inch 6K.
Yeah.
Which are expensive, but the
$1,500 for the small one.
the small one, yeah. Well, even the 32-inch is for $6,000. That's competing against a Sony reference monitor that's $30,000.
Right.
At the very high end of the video world. But 6K monitors are really expensive. 5K monitors are pretty expensive. You go down to 4K monitors, they're not too bad. But you can't edit a 4K video that well on only a 4K monitor because then you don't have any tools and palettes and
it
windows
takes up the
left.
whole screen. Right.
Right. That's one of the reasons the 6K monitors came out.
More screen.
You can have a 4K window and all your palettes and tools and buttons and timelines.
Real estate.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And then Jackie's got a 38-inch curved widescreen.
Yeah.
And it is gorgeous.
Yeah, those curved ones, if you sit in just the right spot, are really interesting.
Sit right in the middle, and it works great.
Because the distance, instead of it being a triangle with you at one corner and then the corners of the monitor at the other corners, you have to look further away to see the information on the edges. But when it's curved, you don't have to adjust your focal distance as much.
Yeah.
To see it.
I ran my airplane flight simulator on it.
Oh, fun.
And it was really cool seeing the curve around. It didn't so I have seen people that put together these amazing flight stations with 3 curved monitors.
Sure.
And then the really high-end people have a 4th monitor behind them.
Okay.
To see,
because you have to turn around and look out the window behind you in
Right.
a real airplane.
So which are you using X-Plane for that?
Well, I was doing Real Flight, which is it's an RC simulator.
Okay, I don't know that one.
It simulates radio control airplanes.
Okay.
That you can really buy, so you can fly the plane you actually bought, and actually, or you can decide to buy a plane based
Try
on what you're
before you
flying.
buy.
Yeah, but X-Plane is one of the higher end simulators. It's still pretty inexpensive.
Yeah.
And it's more of a simulator. It's the only one that's registered with the FAA for legitimate flight training.
And wasn't that a local product?
I think at one point, yeah.
I'm always having that problem. What airplane should I buy today?
Yeah.
Well, model airplanes gets a little easier.
I've got my idea on my eye on the New Horizon Twin Beach.
Okay.
The D18 twin engine.
All right.
It's only $399.
That's cheap.
But yeah.
Do those come pre-built, or do you need to build them?
Those are they need to be assembled.
Oh, okay.
So basically all the pieces, the fuselage is pre-built. The wings, depending on how big the plane is, will come in 2 halves that you screw together, and the tail assembly comes on. So it's assembled. There are airplanes. You can get a kit airplane for under $100. That comes as a box of wood. And actually, you can get plans and then go buy your own wood.
Right.
But you can start with a box of wood and end up with an airplane.
The ones I've seen are the guys that buy sheets of foam core.
Yes.
Which is like paper with...
Flight Test has got some amazing things with just,
then they just cut...
foam core.
They cut pieces, and they make flaps, and they hook up the servos to
They
them.
made a 20-foot wingspan B-17. They made a full-scale Star Wars land speeder. And it's a hovercraft.
Right. And
but
some of those, they actually put a person in them.
Yeah. Yeah, they got people driving around in it.
I can remember.
It's so horrible with the B-17. Then they take potato guns to it.
No, what are you doing?
I can remember watching my uncle used to love to get those kits.
Yep.
Okay.
And cut out the wood.
Yeah.
And then put the rice paper over it.
Yeah.
And I used to always help him mixing up the paste, and then he'd sit there and let me help him.
So the model club in school, you had the plastic cement, you had the dope, you had. so yeah, if you had fabric wings, you had to dope them.
Yep.
I don't remember what the dope actually was, but we just called it dope.
Okay.
So if you're using fabric wings, you have to dope them for rigidity and strength.
Right.
Most of the time now you're using balsa wing struts. And then a plastic monocoat,
kind of vinyl.
Because they're lighter.
And you heat it.
Right.
It's basically shrink wrap it.
Right.
And that becomes the structure of your airfoil.
Interesting.
And it's some of the guys. In fact, this weekend, if you're anywhere near Cuba, there's a big air show in Cuba this weekend.
The town
of Cuba.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And then
that is more relevant.
Yeah.
Then you can go to Cuba Cheese.
Okay.
Some of the best cheese in the area.
Good to know.
The Southern Tier
Chris is into cheese.
Aero
He'd be
Modeling
into that.
Society.
I'm sucked back in. I was thinking that I don't see myself buying RC anything anytime soon. I'm not really. If we're playing frisbee, I can't be too close to the house.
Yeah.
Why would you let me loose with something with propeller?
Right. No.
It sounds like a bad idea.
You can get a basic training aircraft under $100.
Yeah, I think we should go back to cheese for a second.
Yeah. This is the 46th annual.
Okay.
I got to be careful because there's two Stars clubs. There's one in the Southern Tier.
What's the Stars Club
in Cuba? So Stars is the Southern Tier Aero Model Radio Society.
Okay.
Cattaraugus County. Yeah. So that's the one near Cuba. And then there's also one in Syracuse area in Pennaville, called Syracuse Thunderbirds Aero Modeling Radio Society.
Oh.
So what happens when you start with the acronym
and work your way backwards, yeah.
The backronym.
The backronym, yeah. And so you'll see at all this. So my local our local air show in Macedon, the club I belong to, our air show's at the end of August. One weekend is airplanes and helicopters. Next weekend is all helicopters. In fact, I'll be gone that weekend because I'm emceeing the air show.
Do we have cheese at any of these events?
Yeah, probably.
Bring your own.
Bring your own cheese.
Everybody bring some to share.
The Rochester Aero Modeling Society, the Rams Club, is having our annual air show and flight demonstrations. We have events for kids where you build and fly your own airplane. It's in Macedon.
Macedon. Okay.
On Macedon Center Road. 2 weeks ago was RCCR in Northampton Park.
Mm-hmm.
So there's an East Side Club, West Side Club. Phelps is coming up in a couple of weeks. Canandaigua is coming up in a couple of weeks. So there's a lot of air shows around us.
Isn't the air show here?
The Rochester Air Show is coming up in August.
Yeah.
Yes, with the Thunderbirds. I got to see the Blue Angels at Sun and Fun in the spring down in Florida.
Right.
And so I'm really excited to be able to go see the Thunderbirds this year.
All right. So Blue Angels is Navy.
Navy, yeah.
And Thunderbirds is Air Force.
And didn't one of them all of a sudden now have a female pilot? I
think they both do.
Probably.
I think
we had an F-35 demonstration, and one of the pilots was a woman as well.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that's always
some talent.
That's always a good time.
Boy, they sit there and get so close, or one upside down the other. And
Yep.
like,
From your they're a couple of feet apart, but from your vantage point, a couple of feet's a really tiny amount.
Yeah. Well, you sneeze.
Yeah.
And forget it.
Oh man.
A lot of times that's why if there's ever an accident on a flight demonstration, several planes are involved because the leader is flying and everyone else is looking at their wingman and the leader. So they're not.
It's all relevant. It's all relative.
Yeah.
Right.
So if the wingman follows his leader into the ground,
that's where he's going.
Yeah.
Not great.
This is why I only go to cheese conventions.
Yeah.
Because nobody ever gets hurt.
No, well, not at first.
Eat too much. Well, have you ever seen those giant blocks of cheese that roll you over and kill you?
Oh man.
In video games, yes, I think that's happened.
No, there was what was that? I think it was The Amazing Race or something where they went
They
to
rolled
Switzerland.
cheese down the hill,
They
and the
rolled
guy
it down
got injured trying to follow his cheese roll.
Alcohol may have been involved.
Most likely. No.
I feel like there, was some cause and effect there.
Yeah.
Like step one, make poor choices.
Right. Yeah. No, there may have been wagering. Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet you can't do that. Oh yeah. Hold my 5 beers.
Yeah.
Yeah. At least your hobby is a little bit cheaper, Steve.
Yeah.
I mean, I was looking at this guy put it up on the net, and he was selling it, and it's a 200-watt rig.
Okay.
He only wanted $6,000 for it.
Oh, this is for ham radio. $6,000. Wow.
Only 6,000?
Yeah.
How many watts?
200.
200.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah.
How far do you get with 200 watts?
Probably depends.
Depends. Right now with 100 watts, I get around the world. I talk out to
Really?
Japan. We just had it just wrapped up last night at midnight. Is what they have it every year starting from July 1st to July 7th. Is what they call the 13 colonies.
Okay.
13 colonies are all on air, and then they have 3 special stations. They have one in France, one in Great Britain, and then the colonial one, which is in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And you try to make contact to. And you can do it either on voice, CW, or what they call the digital mode, FT8 or RIDI. And I did all 3.
Okay.
And I got a clean sweep on all 3. And that's, again, talking voice across the ocean. I mean,
amazing.
It's nothing nowadays. Right now we're at the upper swing of what they call the sun cycle. Sun cycle goes every 11 years. And we just came out of it, and we're into, I believe it's now the 2nd year of the new sun cycle. So we're on the upward swing to where you can get on some of the upper bands, like 10 meters,
Yeah.
And talk. You'll hear people talking all over the world, clear as you and I are sitting here talking right now.
Huh.
And that's just with a 100-watt radio. And I mean, I take my one little radio out, which only puts out 20 watts.
Yeah.
And I can go out to what they call POTA, Parks on the Air, and sit there and activate that and make contacts with people, again, all over the world. I've made Britain, usually in the time of day that I'm doing it, most of the activities coming from Europe and down in South America.
So are you connecting to a higher powered repeater to do that?
No. It's literally a box that I built. It's an antenna with a toroid on it, and 66 foot of wire that I throw up into a tree.
Okay.
Hook it up to my radio, which is hooked up to a battery pack that I built, and it's only putting out 20 watts.
It's not the power that matters; it's the length of your antenna.
Well, it's also the conditions, propagation.
Yep.
I mean, you can get sometimes where I could spit farther than I can get out, and other times you do a double bounce around the world.
I remember in high school we built crystal radio sets.
Yep.
Okay.
And part of the grade was your soldering, and I got a C. But part of the grade was how many stations you logged and the distance that you got.
Huh.
Well, at the time, we had rotary dial phones. I clipped my antenna lead to the phone stopper.
Oh, there you
So
go.
I'm basically using the entire telephone system as an
wiring,
antenna.
yeah.
And I won. I got an A on that side because I got Radio Madrid.
Ah.
On a 5-watt crystal radio in my kitchen.
That sounds like a Woz hack.
Yeah.
I can remember my dad just about flipping out. They got me a crystal set, and I wanted to set up the antenna. Well, I
Okay.
wasn't doing too well in the bedroom, so I went out on the roof because we had a porch
Okay.
down below, and there was a nice big roof. So I went out on the porch, out on the roof, took my antenna, and I'm out there tacking. And my dad pulls up in the driveway.
Uh-huh.
What the heck you doing up there? You're going to fall and kill yourself. Put down my antenna.
What?
Get down.
We had so many other brothers and sisters, and you probably wouldn't notice.
Yeah.
That's no lie. It'd just be late for dinner.
Sound off.
But no, I got it up. And like you said, at night, you could sit there and move that crystal. And boy, some of the stations that you could tune into, unbelievable. It was a lot of fun back in the day then.
I was looking back, and my dad was talking about Heathkits,
Oh,
which
I
is
love
something
those.
that kind of came and went before I became of age for that sort of thing.
I always
Are
wanted the
there-
hero
anybody bringing
robot.
anything like that back?
Yeah, well, if you look at, there's a thing called QRP.
Okay.
And QRP, they've got different kits that you can build, these small radios that you can
Checking it
build.
out here.
And
Well, and there's a whole sort of maker.
QRP Labs? Is
yep,
that the-
QRP Labs.
This is the whole maker movement now. It's just a recycle of what Heathkit used to do back then. Is you take an Arduino or a Raspberry Pi,
Sure.
and you build these cool things around it.
Good point.
So you can look at any of the maker spaces around town too.
I feel like this came up a couple weeks ago. There's a guy on YouTube. I think his channel is Save It for Parts.
Oh, yeah.
And what he
I know that
does
guy.
is he'll take old satellite dishes, stuff
Yep.
that was on an RV or old ham radio antennas, that kind of thing, and he'll just try and make it work, but see what he can hear
pull in.
or
Yeah.
pull in
Oh yeah,
from
people
that.
use gutters, and I've even
Yeah.
seen people use slinkies. They'll stretch out a slinky, and they can put it on the string, and by moving it in and out.
I really enjoy his process of figuring out what band this covers and what satellites he can pull in, because there's plenty of free television you don't want to watch out there.
Yeah.
But it's neat being the person to connect the tech.
What was the name of that again?
Save It for Parts.
I'm going to post that.
All right. Well, folks, as Nick would say, you've had the enjoyment of listening to us for the past 2 hours. But hey, don't worry. We'll do this all over again next week in 166 hours for more entertainment and fun and who knows what else. But hey, have a safe week. Don't forget this coming July 11th and 12th are Prime Days. So if you're thinking of getting anything computer-wise or anything else, check those out. And we will be back again next week here at Soundbites.
Here's another I Love New York travel tip. Whether you want to cool off with a refreshing swim or just catch some rays and read a book, New York is the place to be with some of the top-rated beaches in the U.S. Ocean beaches are abundant on Long Island. Popular destinations include the Hamptons, Fire Island, Jones Beach, and Montauk. New York also has great beaches around its lakes, including Grafton Lake State Park in Grafton, Lake Beach State Park on Lake Ontario, and Cumberland Bay on Lake Champlain. There are also beaches along rivers, including Wellesley Island State Park in Fineview and Cedar Point on the St. Lawrence. To learn more about beaches in New York State, visit the I Love New York website at iloveny.com. Download the I Love New York app on Google Play and the Apple App Store, or dial 1-800-CALLNYS. So many places to hit the beach. It's easy to love New York.
When we walk, when we reach, when we play, we're moving through life. But an estimated 80% of Americans aren't getting their recommended daily amount of physical activity. It's time to move and keep moving, America. And when you need help, physical therapists and